Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have an elementary level lesson about food, one of my favorite things to talk about.
That's right. We are going to talk about food, but specifically, we're going to talk about a family barbecue.
Okay, what is a family barbecue? Well, I'll just say a few words first. A barbecue is usually something that we do outside. We bring food, we play games, maybe have some drinks, and a lot of the food is grilled. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to hear this dialogue first, and then we'll come back to talk about it.
Is everything ready for the big family barbecue tomorrow?
Yep, the steaks and chicken are marinated, and I also bought hamburger buns.
We should also cook a couple dozen hot dogs and kebabs.
Yeah, good idea. We could put some lawn furniture outside next to the grill. I also set up the tent outside so we can hide from the sun if it gets too hot.
Great! I asked Grace to bring cups and serviettes, as she is also bringing 2 big coolers for the beers.
This is going to be a great barbecue.
Oh no, it's raining!
All right, we're back. So probably a couple of words you didn't really understand. So let's take a look at those now in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Lots of food words, Marco. The first one is barbecue. We were talking about that a minute ago. A barbecue is something we do usually for a special occasion or for dinner. It's a summertime thing. You know, you go outside when it's warm and the entire family comes and we have food. Sometimes people even bring food.
Right. And actually, as you mentioned, it's something that you do a barbecue. You have a family barbecue, but it's also a verb to barbecue something. So to cook meat on a barbecue. So that's cooking meat, not in a stove, not with gas. Usually it's under a fire or very warm, intense heat coming from coals.
Exactly. And so before we cook food, usually before we cook meat on the grill, before we barbecue it, we have to marinate it, okay? So in this situation, the steaks and the chicken are already marinated.
Okay. So to marinate something which is a verb, or the steaks and chickens are marinated, which is an adjective. So basically means that you have added spices and maybe some lemon juice, different herbs or salts to the meats in order to give it flavor before you cook them.
Exactly. Sometimes in Indian cooking, for example, you marinate with a yogurt sauce and you leave the meat in the refrigerator for a whole night.
Exactly.
So marinating or to marinate is a process to give flavor to food.
Very good. All right. So we've marinated our food, our chicken, our steaks, but also we have hamburgers. So we need hamburger buns. What are buns?
Okay. Buns are pieces of bread that are for special kinds of food. So you have a hamburger bun. It's a round piece of bread, and the hamburger goes on one piece and under another piece. A hot dog bun is different. It's like a piece of bread that's folded, and the hot dog goes in the middle. So bun is a special kind of bread for these kinds of foods.
All right. So remember, if you want to have a hot dog, you need to buy hot dog buns. So people know already that you're talking about bread. And if you want to buy a hamburger bread, you say a hamburger bun.
That's right. So hamburger buns and hot dog buns. But after we talk about having the hamburger buns, we discuss how many hot dogs we're going to cook. So the person says we should cook a couple dozen hot dogs.
All right. So a dozen is 12 units of something.
Right, so eggs are sold in dozens. We buy a dozen eggs, we buy 12 eggs.
Okay. Or you can say half a dozen, that means 6.
Half of 12. And a couple dozen is usually around 24, 25.
Okay, very good. So a dozen hot dogs, and they are also getting kebabs. What are kebabs?
One of my favorite foods. Kebabs are sticks or skewers of meat. So you have a very thin stick, and you put the meat on it, and you put that on the grill, and you cook the meat on the grill.
So, yeah, those are very common. For example, in the Middle East, right? You have kebabs, sticks of meat, and also maybe some vegetables put on it, and you grill them.
Exactly. Very flavorful, very tasty meat.
All right, so why don't we listen to our dialogue again, and we'll come back shortly to look at some more words.
Is everything ready for the big family barbecue tomorrow?
Yep, the steaks and chicken are marinated, and I also bought hamburger buns.
We should also cook a couple dozen hot dogs and kebabs.
Yeah, good idea. We could put some lawn furniture outside next to the grill. I also set up the tent outside so we can hide from the sun if it gets too hot.
Great! I asked Grace to bring cups and serviettes, as she is also bringing 2 big coolers for the beers.
This is going to be a great barbecue.
All right, we're back. So now why don't we go to a second part of language takeaway and take a look at 5 more words.
Language takeaway.
All right, the first word that we're going to look at is lawn furniture. So we're going to have lawn furniture outside.
Okay, so before we even start thinking about food, we have to decide where people will sit at this barbecue. And so we have to find out how much lawn furniture we have. Furniture can be a sofa, a table, a chair. We have furniture in the house, but lawn furniture is furniture for the outside. A lawn is
Right.
the green grass outside your house.
So it's usually not going to be made out of wood, for example, because if it rains, it might get ruined, right? So usually it's either plastic or maybe even rock or stone.
or metal.
Or metal. So that's what lawn furniture is. Furniture that is made to be outside in your backyard, for example, or that sits on your lawn.
Exactly. And so we're going to be on the lawn furniture. We have this special thing for cooking meat outside, the grill.
Okay, so we mentioned that you grill chicken or you grill steaks, but it's also a noun, a grill. So a grill, what is that?
A grill is like a stove for the outside, but instead of having electricity to make the fire, we have gas or propane. And this is something that we light on fire. We use coals to keep the insides very warm. And so this is just a way to cook meats or even vegetables outside.
Okay, perfect. So that is a grill. And if you're going to cook foods or vegetables in this way, so you're going to grill them. All right. And well, just in case it gets hot and you want to hide from the sun, we are going to set up a tent.
Okay, a tent. You can sleep in a tent, but in this case, a tent is just a covering outside. So maybe some cloth or some fabric that will stand over us when we sit down or want to be outside. It's also a way to protect us from the rain.
Right. So as you mentioned, a tent is something that you set up temporarily made out of cloth or plastic to protect you from the sun or rain. Or if you're going camping, you sleep in one. All right. And now that they have all the food, they need cups. And then they mentioned this strange word. It kind of sounds French. Serviettes.
Serviettes. So I do think it comes from the French word. This is a British way of saying napkins.
A napkin.
It's like paper for cleaning your hands and cleaning your mouth that you throw away.
Okay, so you can say napkins, or if you want to sound a little bit more fancier, you can say serviettes.
And speaking of fancy, let's talk about beer. Where do we keep beer? It has to stay cold, right?
Right, so usually you would place it in a refrigerator, but if you're outside or you're going camping, you want to keep them cold or you want to keep something hot. You place it in a cooler.
Okay, so a cooler is a plastic bin or a plastic box that we put all of the ice in and the drinks. So it's not just for beer, it's also for Coke and Sprite and all these different drinks.
Right, so it's usually made to keep something cool, but as I said, if you want to keep something warm, you can also keep it in the cooler. It keeps the temperature of the foods.
And the nice thing is that it's not electric, so you can use it anywhere.
Right. All right, so that's all the words for today. Why don't we listen to our dialogue for the last time?
Is everything ready for the big family barbecue tomorrow?
Yep, the steaks and chicken are marinated, and I also bought hamburger buns.
We should also cook a couple dozen hot dogs and kebabs.
Yeah, good idea. We could put some lawn furniture outside next to the grill. I also set up the tent outside so we can hide from the sun if it gets too hot.
Great! I asked Grace to bring cups and serviettes, as she is also bringing 2 big coolers for the beers.
This is going to be a great barbecue.
Oh no, it's raining!
All right, we're back. So family barbecues and doing these things. Did you do these when you were young at home? Do you still like to do it?
All the time. I love barbecues. That's one of my favorite ways to eat food. The nice thing about a barbecue is you get to sit outside and relax, and there's nothing better than nice, fresh grilled meat.
Right, and well, you have all your friends over, so you're having a couple of beers and you're having some meat, and it's actually a really nice way of just having something at home with good friends and family, right?
Exactly. And some of the most important barbecues we have are in the summer near July 4th. And so people like to have July 4th barbecues where you celebrate Independence Day and sit outside and drink and have hot dogs and hamburgers and macaroni and cheese.
Actually, well, I was in Chile. I noticed that as well. Near their festivities for their independence, which is September 18th, a lot of people get together and have barbecues, and it's so popular that pretty much every house in the neighborhood you can smell somebody barbecuing on the weekend.
You're making me so hungry.
All right, guys. So if you have any questions, any doubts, or if it's common for you guys to barbecue back home, then why don't you send us a couple of comments at englishpod.com, and we'll see everyone there.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
A meal cooked out of doors over an open fire. Barbecue. Be soaked in marinade. Marinate. A group of 12. Dozen. Pieces of roasted meat, fish, and vegetables on a skewer. Kebab. Utensil with a metal grate. Parallel metal bars. For cooking over a fire. Grill. Portable shelter of canvas held up by poles, rope, and pegs. Tent. A small square of cloth or paper. Serviette. A container, vessel, or apparatus for cooling. Cooler. Furniture intended for use outside in the yard. Lawn furniture. A round bun shaped to hold a hamburger patty. Hamburger bun.
Let's try that faster.
A round bun shaped to hold a hamburger patty. Hamburger bun. A meal cooked out of doors over an open fire. Barbecue. A container, vessel, or apparatus for cooling. Cooler. Be soaked in marinade. Marinate. Utensil with a metal grate. Parallel metal bars. For cooking over a fire. Grill. Portable shelter of canvas held up by poles, rope, and pegs. Tent. Pieces of roasted meat, fish, and vegetables on a skewer. Kebab. Furniture intended for use outside in the yard. Lawn furniture. A group of 12. Dozen. A small square of cloth or paper. Serviette.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Barbecue. How about we have a barbecue tomorrow night? Barbecue. In the summertime at dinner, there is always the smell of someone in our neighborhood having a barbecue. Barbecue. Can you smell the barbecue? My mouth is watering. Marinate. Marinated steaks are much more tasty and juicier than regular steaks. Marinate. The only thing I know about my friend's secret recipe is that she marinates the chicken breasts overnight. Marinate. Marinating meat makes the meat more tender. Lawn furniture. We have a whole bunch of lawn furniture and a swimming pool in our backyard. Lawn furniture. The home store down the road is having a sale on lawn furniture. Lawn furniture. The party ended abruptly when people started throwing the lawn furniture into the pool. Grill. My favorite food is steak done on the grill. Grill. After you finish cutting up the vegetables, wrap them in some aluminum foil and place it on top of the grill. Grill. You should always clean the grill after you use it. Cooler. We brought a cooler with us to the beach so that we could keep the drinks and the sandwich meat cold. Cooler. He filled up a cooler with ice and then placed the medical specimen carefully inside. Cooler. When we go camping, we always have a cooler or two to keep food cold.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another lesson with us here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and that's us.
And that's us. And today we're going to talk about a very common situation when you're a couple, when you have a girlfriend.
Honey, come on.
Let's go.
I want to go.
Are you?
You're taking forever.
All right. Who takes long? Like, do you take a long time to get ready, to get dressed?
Okay, I take longer to get ready, but my boyfriend takes longer in general because he's like checking his email, playing video games, like just, you know, we call it lollygagging. He's just like being kind of slow.
I'm the opposite. I usually start getting ready later. Like if we have to leave at 9, I'll start getting ready at 8:30, but I'll be ready by 9 because I take a shower real fast, get dressed, and I know what I'm going to wear and all my clothes are ready. But on the other hand, my girlfriend takes forever to get ready, and she's like, oh, and then, you know, the hair.
Girls have makeup and tights and
But this is what I understand. If we're supposed to leave at 9, why don't you start getting ready before?
Never underestimate women. I don't know.
Procrastination.
Hey, it's not even about procrastination. Sometimes it just takes longer to look good than other times.
Right. Well, in this case, we're going to be looking at a lesson where it's the opposite. The husband is taking a long time to get ready, and, well, I don't think he has a very good fashion sense, right?
He does not. And we're going to learn what that phrase means in a minute here. But before we get going, we've got a couple of words to preview to help you understand what's going on in today's dialogue.
Vocabulary preview.
All right, so vocabulary preview today, we have 2 words. The first one can be a noun or a verb. To iron.
Or iron.
Uh-huh. So to iron basically means to
get the wrinkles out of clothes. And so we use this. Iron is actually a metal. It's a very important metal. And an iron is a machine that we plug in. We use it to get the wrinkles, the lines out of our shirts and our skirts and everything. And so it's actually a very important thing to make sure that you look nice and put together.
Right. So you use an iron to iron your shirt or to iron your skirt. And then we have sandals. My favorite type of shoe.
Mine too.
Sandals.
I have a friend who used to say she had claustrophobic feet. Her feet didn't like to be in closed spaces, and so she only wore sandals.
So these are open shoes, open toe shoes, basically. You wear them at the beach.
Or you wear them in the summer in general. I'm wearing sandals right now.
And you have different types of sandals, like sandals and flip-flops, right?
Flip-flops, I think they're called that because they sound like flip-flop, flip-flop.
When you walk. All right, so those are our 2 words today. Let's listen to the dialogue for the first time, and then we'll be back.
Honey, come on. We're going to be late. Honestly, you take longer getting ready than I do.
I was drying my hair and ironing my shirt. Can you come here for a sec? I need your help.
What is it? Why are all these clothes on the bed?
I don't know what to wear. Okay, give me your opinion. Do you like the way this looks? The striped short-sleeve shirt with this checkered sweater and my lucky sandals. I like the cut and hemline of these shorts, so I think I'll wear these as well.
Are you joking? What am I going to do with you? We are going to a dinner party, not to the beach. Wear the shirt with the silk tie I bought you and those corduroy pants. It's chilly outside, so you can wear this coat.
Thanks, honey. You have such great fashion sense. Now, what am I going to do with my hair?
All right, we're back. So, interesting. This husband sounded a lot like a famous president, I think.
He did, but we'll get to that in a minute. Before we do talk about who this guy is, I think it'd be a great idea to talk about some of these clothing terms because they're very useful for when you want to go shopping and for when you're getting dressed.
Language takeaway.
Okay, so the first word that we have on language takeaway is striped.
All right, you might have heard the American flag called Stars and Stripes. Stripes are those lines on clothing or on flags that go up or down or left and right.
Exactly. So if you have a striped shirt, you have many lines on your shirt that are going up and down or left and right.
Right, and they say with fashion, lines that go left to right make you look fatter, and lines that go up and down make you look thinner.
And taller.
And taller.
Very good. And now moving on, if it's summer and you want to wear a shirt, you can wear a short-sleeved shirt.
All right, this is important. So most people like to wear short-sleeved shirts in the summertime because they're cooler. And in the wintertime, that means we like to wear long-sleeved shirts.
Okay, so the sleeves are basically the arms of the shirt.
Exactly.
So you say short-sleeved. Oh, very good. And then we have a checkered shirt, or a checkered sweater in this case.
Okay, so checkered means there are little squares on the shirt, and usually one square is one color, and the next square is another color. So it looks like a checkerboard.
Very
that
good.
Game, checkers?
Or like a chessboard.
Exactly. And so in this case, we've got a guy who's trying to wear a striped shirt and a checkered sweater.
That does not go well together, right?
No. Too much stuff happening.
It's too busy.
Too busy.
All right. And not only that, but he wanted to wear shorts because he liked the cut and the hemline.
Okay, these are actually terms that we normally use with women's clothing because you could say, I like the cut of this dress. I like the shape that it has.
Very good.
And hemline is the bottom of your skirt or your trousers or your shorts. And hemline, we could say, my mother used to say this to me, the hemline is much too high, much too short. That skirt is not appropriate. Yeah, so it's nice to have a hemline at the knee.
All right, so the cut is the shape that the piece of clothing has, like pants or skirts, and the hemline would be the place where it ends, right? The skirt, for example.
Like it pretty much tells you the length of something.
Very good. And now the wife steps in. She's like, no, you're not wearing this. She's telling him that she has to wear nice clothes, and among those items is a silk tie.
Okay, so classic Father's Day gift.
Silk tie.
I've given this one a couple of times. A silk tie is a necktie, a long necktie that's made of silk.
Silk is a very soft material, right? Very expensive as well.
It can be, especially Italian silk.
And I've always actually wanted to have silk sheets.
Ooh, see, I don't know. I feel like they would get very warm in the summer.
Yeah, well, in the winter it would be awesome, but probably very cold in the winter as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things. And then she's also telling him to wear some corduroy pants.
Okay, so it sounds like this might be a winter dialogue because corduroy is not something you wear in the summer because it's very heavy and thick. Corduroy actually is a fabric that usually has these kind of ribs or ridges, and so there's like little lines in the fabric that make it quite thick and rough when you almost not rough, but they make it feel very unique when you touch it.
Yeah, it's not smooth. It's a little bit rough, the fabric. Very good. So those are all the clothing items that we've looked at today. There's a lot of them, and obviously we'll post a couple of pictures on the site so you can see better what a silk tie looks like, or especially corduroy pants.
Corduroy, yeah.
All right, so let's listen to this dialogue again. We're going to slow it down a little bit, and then we'll come back and look at some of the phrases.
Honey, come on. We're going to be late. Honestly, you take longer getting ready than I do.
I was drying my hair and ironing my shirt. Can you come here for a sec? I need your help.
What is it? Why are all these clothes on the bed?
I don't know what to wear. Okay, give me your opinion. Do you like the way this looks? The striped short-sleeve shirt with this checkered sweater and my lucky sandals. I like the cut and hemline of these shorts, so I think I'll wear these as well.
Are you joking? What am I going to do with you? We are going to a dinner party, not to the beach. Wear the shirt with the silk tie I bought you and those corduroy pants. It's chilly outside, so you can wear this coat.
Thanks, honey. You have such great fashion sense. Now, what am I going to do with my hair?
All right, we're back. So now let's start with Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, these are classic couple phrases, right? These are phrases you hear among couples. And the first one is maybe more common to hear from the female end, but it's not unknown on the male end. So we have this question. Do you like the way this looks?
So while the person is saying this, they would maybe like be moving to the side a little bit, like
Modeling it.
Do you like the way this looks? So basically you're saying, do you like what I'm wearing? Does it look good on me?
Does it look good? Exactly. You could also say, hey, I like the way this looks when you're trying to buy something at the store. And so, do you like the way this looks is a way for you to ask the other person's opinion of how you look.
And also another common phrase, especially with men who have no fashion sense, the wife says, what am I going to do with you?
Okay, this is an interesting phrase and it needs some explanation, I think, because the meaning is, well, this is very difficult, right? So you're being difficult, or wow, you need some help from me. I'm going to help you.
How am I going to help you this much or all the time like this?
Right, because she's pretty much saying he has no idea about clothing and fashion. So he's saying to her, she's saying to him, what am I going to do with you? Means you need so much help.
Seriously. All right. So, and the third phrase that we saw and we said at the very beginning is fashion sense.
Okay, so this is actually what the man needs help with.
Fashion sense.
He needs help with his fashion sense because he has zero fashion sense.
Right.
And this is pretty much a way to say how much someone knows about fashion or appearances. And so I can say, oh, my friend Kathy, she has amazing fashion sense. So she
maybe,
always looks good.
Right. So combining colors appropriately or wearing the right types of shoes with the right types of clothing, etc. Fashion sense.
Or even just being able to wear things that are good on her or telling other people what's good on them. So fashion sense is the ability to identify fashion and look good and make other people look good.
All right. Very good. Let's listen to this dialogue for the very last time, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about fashion because it's a very interesting topic.
It is.
Honey, come on. We're going to be late. Honestly, you take longer getting ready than I do.
I was drying my hair and ironing my shirt. Can you come here for a sec? I need your help.
What is it? Why are all these clothes on the bed?
I don't know what to wear. Okay, give me your opinion. Do you like the way this looks? The striped short-sleeve shirt with this checkered sweater and my lucky sandals. I like the cut and hemline of these shorts, so I think I'll wear these as well.
Are you joking? What am I going to do with you? We're going to a dinner party, not to the beach. Wear the shirt with the silk tie I bought you and those corduroy pants. It's chilly outside, so you can wear this coat.
Thanks, honey. You have such great fashion sense. Now, what am I going to do with my hair?
All right, we're back. You lived in Italy for a while. How is the fashion over there? Is it extreme like we see on the runways? Because I honestly don't understand fashion.
Well, the thing about runways is that that's not how normal people dress.
Well, yeah, that's what I don't understand. Why do they have these fashion shows if people don't really buy these types of clothing?
Well, sometimes people, like stores, for example, big stores, department stores, will buy fashions off of the runway, and they'll kind of change them a little bit so that they're more appropriate for normal consumption. That means for normal people who want to wear them. But the runway fashions are actually, they're kind of like exaggerations of trends that will happen in the shopping world, right? In the commercial world. So the things that you see are like big blown up exaggerations, and we take bits and pieces of those in our daily lives to dress up. So different colors or fabrics, or like oftentimes you see kind of military outfits. And so that will translate into military jackets that are very popular one season. And so Italy definitely counts as a very fashionable country, but it's not crazy. People, every once in a while you see someone with crazy clothes, but I think Japan is much more crazy as far as style.
Actually, Asian countries such as Japan or South Korea, they have very also unique fashion as well, but it's very extreme to a certain point. And the color combinations they do is like red sneakers with green pants and like a blue jacket. It's very crazy.
Bright.
And very bright.
And you often see these shoes, we call them platform shoes. It's kind of like you're standing on a brick or on a book.
Huge.
And they're 7 inches tall. And you see these little girls wearing these big shoes, and I'm so scared when I see them because I feel like they're going to fall over.
The other thing is that fashion is so expensive. If you actually want to buy something that's in like an authentic, I don't know, Carolina Herrera or Oscar de la Renta or something like that, it's so expensive.
It is, but high fashion is expensive.
Yeah.
Fashion is not. Doesn't have to be. You can be fashionable just looking at different stores and going to secondhand shops and making your own clothes. I mean, it's all about a sense of personal style and dressing yourself to be unique.
Or you can get it at the fake market.
Or you can go to the fake market. Exactly.
All right. That's all the time we have for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please come to our website and comment at englishpod.com. And if you have any other suggestions or maybe your own pictures of crazy fashion, you can post. We're glad to see them. So we'll see you guys there.
Yeah, as Marco said, hope to see you on the website. That's about it for today. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. Casual tennis shoes.
Sneakers.
Having stripes or bands of color.
Striped.
A pattern with alternating squares.
Checkered.
A fabric pattern with many circles.
Polka dot.
A type of footwear with open toes.
Sandal.
A type of fabric used to make jeans.
Denim.
The shape and style of a piece of clothing.
Cut.
Used to describe something that is no longer popular.
Out of fashion.
The line formed by the lower edge of clothing.
Hemline.
A person who makes clothes, adjusts the fit.
Tailor.
An event where you eat at a friend's house.
Dinner party.
A ribbed cotton clothing material.
Corduroy.
An idea for what clothing looks good.
Fashion sense.
Let's try that faster. A type of fabric used to make jeans.
Denim.
A type of footwear with open toes.
Sandal.
A ribbed cotton clothing material.
Corduroy.
A person who makes clothes, adjusts the fit.
Tailor.
Used to describe something that is no longer popular.
Out of fashion.
Having stripes or bands of color.
Striped.
An idea for what clothing looks good.
Fashion sense.
The line formed by the lower edge of clothing.
Hemline.
The shape and style of a piece of clothing.
Cut.
A pattern with alternating squares.
Checkered.
An event where you eat at a friend's house.
Dinner party.
A fabric pattern with many circles.
Polka dot.
Casual tennis shoes.
Sneakers.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Striped. The zebra has strong black and white striping for confusing predators. Striped. It is never a good idea to wear a striped shirt with checkered pants. Striped. Uncle Joe took me down to the pond to fish for striped bass. Checkered. A black and white checkered flag is often used to signal the end of a race. Checkered. Chess is always played on a checkered board. Checkered. We were all unaware of the man's checkered past. Nobody knew he just got out of jail. Cut. The cut of men's suits has changed considerably over the years. Cut. She was not pleased with the cut of her wedding dress, so now it must be redone. Cut. Michael is such a dependable employee. They really like the cut of his jib. Dinner party. Another dinner party? Why can't we ever eat at home with our own family? Dinner party. It is always a good idea to bring a bottle of wine or a dessert when attending a dinner party. Dinner party. James made a fool of himself at the dinner party when he tried to show off his new magic tricks. Fashion sense. You have no fashion sense whatsoever. Just look at what you are wearing. Fashion sense. Fashion sense is not something you can learn by imitating others. You either have it or you don't. Fashion sense. Trendy styles and fads should not influence your sense of fashion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we're talking a little bit about going to sleep or not being able to sleep.
That's right. We are having some sleeping problems, and we're actually going to check out a couple of words related to this topic right now on Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
Okay, so the first word is actually the technical word that describes being unable to sleep. It's called insomnia.
Right. So if you have insomnia, it means that you can't fall asleep. You can't sleep.
Okay, so this is a pretty serious condition. For example, if you have insomnia and you don't sleep for 3 or 4 nights, you're not going to do very well at work, right?
Right. Or if you're studying, you're tired at school, you can't concentrate. So it's a very big problem.
What's that other word, though? We have insomnia, but we also have another interesting disorder.
Right. If somebody is able to sleep but walks while they're sleeping, that person is called a sleepwalker.
That's right. And you don't actually just have to walk to be a sleepwalker.
Right.
You can do any number of strange things like basically acting like you're awake when you're not.
Exactly. So some people get up and walk, actually go outside. Some people get dressed. Some people even go downstairs and cook.
Yeah, that's right. And the worst is the people who eat because they gain weight and they don't know why.
Exactly. So sleepwalking is what you do. And if you do this, you're called a sleepwalker.
Okay, sleepwalk is the verb. Sleepwalker is the noun or the person.
All right, so we've taken a look at 2 words that we're going to find in our dialogue today. Why don't we go now and listen to the dialogue for the first time?
Alex, what's up with you? You look dreadful.
Hey, Jill. I don't know. I've been having trouble sleeping these past few weeks. I usually lie in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. I've tried stretching and different breathing techniques before going to bed. I've tried eating and not eating different foods. I've even tried counting sheep. And then, when I finally get to sleep, I have these really disturbing nightmares. So I usually wake up in a panic and more tired than before I went to sleep.
Wow. Maybe you should get that checked out. Maybe you're stressed?
Just take some sedatives. Works for me. Every so often, having some melatonin on hand helps me when I have trouble sleeping. It works on all kinds of sleeping disorders. It's the stuff pilots use to regulate their sleeping patterns.
I heard of that. But does that apply to Alex's situation?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Sounds like he only has transient insomnia since it's a recent thing, so taking melatonin should do the trick.
But shouldn't he be looking into why it's been happening?
Well, aren't you the little psychologist? Our buddy's having trouble sleeping. It's easy and curable. It's not something freakish like if he was a sleepwalker.
Well, there's that, too.
All right, we're back. So obviously this person not only has insomnia, but also has nightmares, sleepwalks, a mess.
That's right. And you can tell when someone hasn't been sleeping well. They have that look, like there's bags under their eyes, or they just look really tired. And so the friend here says, Alex, you look dreadful.
That's right, dreadful. So this is an adjective, and it's a way to describe someone that looks terrible. You look horrible. You look tired. You look sleepy.
That's right. So this is not a compliment. This is something that you say when you're worried about someone. So for example, if someone's really, really tired, you say, you look dreadful. Or if someone is wearing very dirty clothes, they don't look like they went home yesterday, you say, oh, what's wrong? You look dreadful.
Right. I think you can also use it to describe objects or maybe food, right? Mm-hmm. This lasagna is dreadful.
It means it's very bad.
Right.
And you don't want to say that to the person who cooked it, of course.
Exactly. All right, so the person, obviously, because is suffering from insomnia, looks dreadful. And he was explaining what he does to try to fall asleep. For example, counting sheep, stretching, and he also said that he tried different breathing techniques.
Okay, so basically a technique is an approach to something, a kind of method. Mm-hmm. But in this case, we're talking about breathing techniques. So for some people, one breathing technique is breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. Mm-hmm. Like that. So that's one kind of technique.
So a technique, as you say, is a way of doing something.
Yes.
So breathing techniques are different ways of breathing. So maybe you will relax, or maybe you'll fall asleep. Things like this.
Exactly. It's one of those things that you might learn about in a yoga class, for example. There's different breathing techniques.
Right, and you can combine techniques with other words as well, adding the ing. For example, you have walking techniques, maybe to put less stress on your knees. Or running techniques, swimming techniques. I think there's a technique for almost everything.
Just about anything you can do, there's a technique for it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and well, moving on, he was talking about his nightmares, and he described his nightmares as disturbing. He has disturbing nightmares.
Okay, well, I think this is an important word to cover here, Marco, because we've heard the verb to disturb before. Like, I'm sorry to disturb you. It means I'm sorry to bother you. But disturbing is an adjective. It describes something that makes me very uncomfortable, right?
Right.
So, for example, a lot of times in the news, we see very disturbing images, car accidents or fires or bombs. And what's disturbing is when you see human beings who have been hurt. So, images that make you really uncomfortable or sad, these are disturbing.
Exactly. So disturbing nightmares are nightmares that are not very pleasant. They make him scared maybe or uncomfortable.
Right. Like a dream, for example, where your parents die. It's pretty disturbing.
Exactly. All right. And well, one of his friends recommended, you know what? Stop with all of this. Just take some sedatives.
Okay, so sedatives are a kind of medicine that help a person relax or that help make a person tired.
Right. So I think it comes from the verb to sedate.
Yes.
And basically that is to calm down, to tranquilize.
That's right. So in this case, we're talking about a person, but you can also give an animal sedatives. For example, if you want to take your dog on an airplane, the dog needs to relax, you give it some sedatives.
Exactly. And I think when he mentioned a specific name of a sedative, it's melatonin.
That's right. So melatonin, melatonin, is a chemical that our bodies naturally produce that help calm us down. And so a lot of pharmaceutical companies or drug companies sell melatonin in a pill form. It's a chemical that helps you relax.
Exactly. So obviously if you take melatonin, you're going to feel sleepy or you're going to be very relaxed and you're going to fall asleep a lot easier.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully. That's right. So, and well, the whole thing that we've been talking about, insomnia, sleepwalking, these are called sleeping disorders.
Right, or you might also hear the term sleep disorders. They mean problems with sleeping. So people who either cannot fall asleep, or people who have bad dreams, or people who sleepwalk.
Exactly. So a disorder is something of an illness or a condition that is not normal. So for example, as you said, a sleeping disorder or a sleep disorder, it means that you're not able to sleep properly or normally.
But there are other kinds of disorders, right?
Right. I guess many people have heard of eating disorders.
Okay, so that's basically people who do not eat like everyone else.
Exactly. So that's what happens with a disorder. All right, so we've taken a look at a lot of vocab. Now it's time for us to take a look at Fluency Builder. But before that, why don't we listen to the dialogue again?
Alex, what's up with you? You look dreadful.
Hey, Jill. I don't know. I've been having trouble sleeping these past few weeks. I usually lie in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. I've tried stretching and different breathing techniques before going to bed. I've tried eating and not eating different foods. I've even tried counting sheep. And then, when I finally get to sleep, I have these really disturbing nightmares. So I usually wake up in a panic and more tired than before I went to sleep.
Wow. Maybe you should get that checked out. Maybe you're stressed?
Just take some sedatives. Works for me. Every so often having some melatonin on hand helps me when I have trouble sleeping. It works on all kinds of sleeping disorders. It's the stuff pilots use to regulate their sleeping patterns.
I heard of that. But does that apply to Alex's situation?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Sounds like he only has transient insomnia since it's a recent thing, so taking melatonin should do the trick.
But shouldn't he be looking into why it's been happening?
Well, aren't you the little psychologist? Our buddy's having trouble sleeping. It's easy and curable. It's not something freakish like if he was a sleepwalker.
Well, there's that too.
All right, we're back. So now we have 3 main phrases for Fluency Builder. Why don't we start with the first one?
Okay, so you heard in today's dialogue an interesting phrase. I don't know if it exists in other languages, but in English we say when you're trying to fall asleep, there's a good technique to help you do so. You count sheep.
Yeah, I think you see it in cartoons all the time. A person is sleeping, and over that cartoon's head is a little cloud, and you see sheep jumping over a fence, right?
So, yeah, basically there's a fence, and you say 1, 2,
Right.
3, and the process of counting helps relax a person.
And you fall asleep.
Right.
So counting sheep, I guess you're not literally out in a field counting sheep. You're just imagining sheep in your head, and you're trying to fall asleep.
That's right, counting sheep.
All right. And, well, one of his friends recommended that maybe he should go to a doctor. And Jill said that by saying, maybe you should get that checked out.
Okay, so to get something checked out, to get it checked out, this means to have a professional give you a suggestion or to have a professional look at something.
Exactly. So maybe you should get examined. Maybe you should go to the doctor.
This isn't just about disorders, right? I mean, what if I have a sore tooth? I could say this.
Right. So if you have a toothache, I would recommend, maybe you should get that checked out by my dentist.
Right. Or maybe if you have a bad rash, you know, your skin is very red. I say, Marco, I think you should get that checked out by a doctor.
Exactly. So to get something checked, to get something examined by a doctor or a professional. All right, and the last phrase that we have for you.
So the last phrase we have today comes from a suggestion at the end. The friend suggests taking melatonin. And he says, listen, taking melatonin should do the trick.
Right. So if you end a phrase by saying that should do the trick, basically you're saying that should solve your problem. That should help you.
Exactly. So the trick, you don't have to think about what the trick is. It's just a way of saying it should fix your problem. So for example, when someone is fixing my car and they have one more thing to do and it's finished, he says, the car mechanic might say, that should do the trick.
Right.
That means problem solved.
Or maybe you want to hang a picture on your wall. So somebody puts a nail in the wall and that should do the trick, and maybe that'll hold up the painting.
Done.
Okay. So that's a way of saying that should solve the problem. This should be the solution. That should be all.
Okay.
Okay. So why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue one last time?
Alex, what's up with you? You look dreadful.
Hey, Jill. I don't know. I've been having trouble sleeping these past few weeks. I usually lie in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. I've tried stretching and different breathing techniques before going to bed. I've tried eating and not eating different foods. I've even tried counting sheep. And then, when I finally get to sleep, I have these really disturbing nightmares. So I usually wake up in a panic and more tired than before I went to sleep.
Wow. Maybe you should get that checked out. Maybe you're stressed?
Just take some sedatives. Works for me. Every so often, having some melatonin on hand helps me when I have trouble sleeping. It works on all kinds of sleeping disorders. It's the stuff pilots use to regulate their sleeping patterns.
I heard of that. But does that apply to Alex's situation?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Sounds like he only has transient insomnia since it's a recent thing, so taking melatonin should do the trick.
But shouldn't he be looking into why it's been happening?
Well, aren't you the little psychologist? Our buddy's having trouble sleeping. It's easy and curable. It's not something freakish like if he was a sleepwalker.
Well, there's that, too.
All right, we're back. So talking about dreaming, nightmares, insomnia, all of this, what do you do if you can't fall asleep?
I don't really have this problem personally because
fall asleep anywhere.
I could fall asleep anywhere, anytime.
I've heard some people take like warm milk before going to sleep.
Yes, some people take milk, although I also heard that dairy products before bedtime can make you have nightmares.
Oh, really?
If you eat cheese before bed.
I've heard that as well. I've heard that if you have seafood before bed, you'll have nightmares as well.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, have you ever had a dream when you are doing something and you wake up in the middle of that?
Yes.
I remember once I was dreaming, I was drinking a soda. And all of a sudden I woke up and I had my hand like in the air, like doing the action of me actually drinking the soda.
Actually, sometimes this happens to me when I'm falling asleep. I imagine I'm on a bike or something and I start to feel myself moving my legs. And I wake up and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? So the brain is very strange, I think, especially in those times when you're kind of asleep and you're kind of awake.
Also, when you wake up suddenly, I don't know if other people have experienced this, but you feel like you're falling or something.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you just wake up like with a shake.
Yeah, your body moves. Yeah, it's really
very scary. Your heart starts to beat. I don't know why that happens though.
It's unusual. Well, we're curious to know what your sleep habits are. Do you have a hard time sleeping, or are you like me? It's very easy for you to fall asleep.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Let's try that faster.
A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Get to sleep. Sometimes I need to put on some music in order to get to sleep. Get to sleep. I got to sleep really late last night because I couldn't stop worrying about my presentation today. Get to sleep. I couldn't get to sleep until after midnight. Nightmare. I've had the same nightmare night after night for the past month. Nightmare. I woke up from my nightmare just before I found out what was behind the door. Nightmare. I never have dreams, but every so often I get nightmares. Sedative. They gave me a sedative before I went into surgery. Sedative. I often use a mild sedative in order to calm myself down when I get anxious. Sedative. I've heard that some people put sedatives in other people's drinks at bars in order to rob them. Sleeping pattern. My sleeping patterns have been all over the place recently. Sleeping pattern. I have a consistent sleeping pattern and I intend to stick to it. Sleeping pattern. I managed to regulate my sleeping pattern, so now I can't even sleep in if I wanted to. Do the trick. If you start getting tired while studying, drinking some coffee should do the trick. Do the trick. Just add some more salt to the soup and that should do the trick. Do the trick. If you turn up the volume of the microphone a bit, it should do the trick.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Let's try that faster.
A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Get to sleep. Sometimes I need to put on some music in order to get to sleep. Get to sleep. I got to sleep really late last night because I couldn't stop worrying about my presentation today. Get to sleep. I couldn't get to sleep until after midnight. Nightmare. I've had the same nightmare night after night for the past month. Nightmare. I woke up from my nightmare just before I found out what was behind the door. Nightmare. I never have dreams, but every so often I get nightmares. Sedative. They gave me a sedative before I went into surgery. Sedative. I often use a mild sedative in order to calm myself down when I get anxious. Sedative. I've heard that some people put sedatives in other people's drinks at bars in order to rob them. Sleeping pattern. My sleeping patterns have been all over the place recently. Sleeping pattern. I have a consistent sleeping pattern and I intend to stick to it. Sleeping pattern. I managed to regulate my sleeping pattern, so now I can't even sleep in if I wanted to. Do the trick. If you start getting tired while studying, drinking some coffee should do the trick. Do the trick. Just add some more salt to the soup and that should do the trick. Do the trick. If you turn up the volume of the microphone a bit, it should do the trick.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Let's try that faster.
A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Get to sleep. Sometimes I need to put on some music in order to get to sleep. Get to sleep. I got to sleep really late last night because I couldn't stop worrying about my presentation today. Get to sleep. I couldn't get to sleep until after midnight. Nightmare. I've had the same nightmare night after night for the past month. Nightmare. I woke up from my nightmare just before I found out what was behind the door. Nightmare. I never have dreams, but every so often I get nightmares. Sedative. They gave me a sedative before I went into surgery. Sedative. I often use a mild sedative in order to calm myself down when I get anxious. Sedative. I've heard that some people put sedatives in other people's drinks at bars in order to rob them. Sleeping pattern. My sleeping patterns have been all over the place recently. Sleeping pattern. I have a consistent sleeping pattern and I intend to stick to it. Sleeping pattern. I managed to regulate my sleeping pattern so now I can't even sleep in if I wanted to. Do the trick. If you start getting tired while studying, drinking some coffee should do the trick. Do the trick. Just add some more salt to the soup and that should do the trick. Do the trick. If you turn up the volume of the microphone a bit, it should do the trick.